Hey everybody, it's great to be here. Thank you, David. It's also great to see so many faces walking through, having coffee and seeing you guys sitting out here today. And it confirms a thought that London really is becoming the center of the disruption of retail and small business financing. And it's one of the very few areas where London, I think, has a chance to become a global center for a massive industry shift that's going to last for the next 10, 20, 30 years, in my view. And yeah, it's just, thank you very much to you guys at Wire, to David, these kind of events are really, really important. And the ecosystem that is evolving out of digital finance here is very, very valuable. So to give you a little bit of context on Wonga and then dive into this, we got going in 2007. We've possibly been one of the faster growing technology businesses in Europe since then. This year we'll lend well over £1 billion to well over 1 million customers. Just last month we serviced over 350,000 unique households just in the UK. So, we're growing at scale, and what you'll see here, I think, is evidence of a consumer-led approach of what happens when you put the consumer really spot at the center of your proposition and what starts happening then. So, when we started looking at the space in 2005 and 2006, it was clear that there were already hero brands emerging who were transforming what consumers wanted to do. And simply by solving real everyday needs online, on mobile, in real time, these brands were changing consumer relationships in industries that had existed for decades and sometimes centuries. And what was obvious was that nobody was doing this in finance. And so, why was that? And it really was because the incumbents were literally stuck in the past. The incumbents have a lot of disadvantages in this space. IT systems have become legacy. What started out as opportunity and as advantage has, in the digital age, become a massive disadvantage and a massive source of inertia on these businesses. And what else has happened with banks and with other traditional financial organizations? More important than the technology is that they stopped putting the customer at the center. Long ago, products started being created by product people and lawyers and marketing people that were created treating people like idiots. And consumers got tired of that, and small businesses got tired of that. And Wonga is just one example, I think, of many, and you're seeing some of the traction that other startups in the space are getting. People want to be taken seriously. They want to be treated with a degree of dignity. They appreciate transparency. They appreciate being upfront and being honest. And the incumbents had forgotten about that. And that is the source of opportunity here for the various companies that are presenting today. So, in our own little way, what we did to innovate here was to create what we felt was the optimal amount of transparency. And in doing that, give control to the consumer. So these are our sliders that we created at Wonga that now many other players are starting to use, and we welcome that. And what we realized was that when people needed to solve a short-term cash flow problem, really there were only two questions they were asking, which is how much we needed to ask them and that they needed to answer, which is how much they wanted and for how long. And now, why construct a product that forced consumers to take what we wanted to supply them? So we created a slider that was completely flexible and gave complete control and made the total cost that people would pay back completely transparent. And what we also realized was that people wanted to do this online. They wanted to do this on mobile. So it was about using transparency and using control and giving people flexibility, but putting it in people's wallets and in people's pockets and on people's desktops. And so, we launched online and very quickly added mobile. and we'll continue to make the service available in a way that is as ubiquitous as humanly possible, because that's how people want to engage. People want to be able to engage in commerce and in social activities on demand, where they are, whenever they want to do that. And doing this, though, is complicated. And the way we do it fundamentally is through using a lot of technology and by using a lot of data. And we absolutely love data at Wonga. We, on an average transaction, the customer will give us about 10 pieces of data, but we'll go off and collect over 8,000 pieces of data before making a decision, all done in milliseconds by a machine, completely objective. So what we've done is take what we felt was a major failing in financial markets, and that is that bankers grew up feeling like they were well placed to use human judgment to make decisions. And we took a completely contrarian view to that. And our thesis was that machines could make these decisions in unemotional ways, in predictable ways, consuming massive amounts of data to actually make better decisions. And so, what people may not appreciate is that we approve less than 40% of customers at Wonga. So, the data that we're collecting is used very actively to decision. And those decisions are based on what's good for the customer and what's appropriate for the customer, and also what makes sense from a commercial perspective for us. And so we're using that data to make very real decisions all day long. And that data is massively helpful. It helps the consumer and it helps us. And we've moved beyond the world of anecdotal, judgment-led decisions. And to my mind, it's a space where humans are particularly bad. And those of us who have recruited people in our lives and in our personal relationships with people, when you just reflect back, most of us are quite bad. And most of the data suggests that we're quite bad at making well-based judgments on other human beings. And so we leave that to the machines. We constantly feed the machines with more and more data. And we let the crunching of the data help us make the best decisions we can possibly make. One of the absolutely core principles of Wonga from long before we launched the service was that we wanted to be massively responsible. And for us, responsibility always meant three things. It meant, number one, being totally transparent. So making sure that at the point of the transaction, the customer knew exactly what they were going to get, how much it was going to cost them, when they were going to get the money, when they would need to pay back. Upfront, make it completely transparent. We then believe that people having that information can make good decisions for themselves. The second principle of responsibility for us is about giving control and flexibility to the customer, which isn't a new idea. I mean, Dell had done that long ago, where they allowed customers to start configuring PCs and laptops and choosing what color screen and what CPU and et cetera, et cetera. We hadn't seen that in financial services. And so instead of forcing customers to take £3,000 for a year minimum because that happens to be what the credit committee wants to talk about, or a mortgage for 20 years because that might be convenient to the product manager, we said, let's create a flexible system that allows a customer to choose exactly how much they want for exactly how long they want it for. And anybody here who's built systems knows that it's non-trivial to build flexibility into systems, but we did it because we genuinely believe in it. And we've gone further than that. So for example, at Wonga, there's free early repayment for anybody whenever they want, as a principle. So not only do you choose exactly how much you want and for how long you want it for, but let's say today you felt like you needed money for 14 days. And in 3 days' time, you didn't need it any longer. So you log into Wonga and you pay for the 3 days. You don't need to tell us why, you just do it. That's fine. And we believe in that. We believe that people shouldn't need to take any more credit than they want for any longer than they want it for. And that means not just upfront, but even if you change your mind after the fact. And that's revolutionary in finance. But it's not actually that radical a thought. It's taking inspiration from some of the best consumer brands in the world who have built very honest, enduring relationships with their customers and employing that in finance.